What's up, guys? It's Victoria from Under Victoria's Spell, and it is officially the end of September, and I am going to be talking about all the books that I read this month. It was my best reading month to date. I read 19 books in the month of September. I cannot believe that it's already October, but it is spooky season, and I'm so freaking excited to hop into next month and read some really great books. But this month was so fun, and I got to read some of my new favorite books. So I'm gonna hop right into talking about all the books that I read in the month of September. Okay, so let's do a little breakdown of the books that I've read. So I read 19 books, and I did not DNF any books. So proud of myself. I had 0 1-star reads. I had 1 2-star reads, 7 3 to 3.5 star reads, 6 4 to 4.5 star reads. I had 6 of those, and I had 5 5-star reads. So I found some really great books this month, and there was a lot of read-alongs and readathons, and it was such a good freaking month. So I finally started journaling in my book, to like my little notebook, about all the books that I read, so I can keep up with all of my, like, what I rate them, and that way at the end of the month it'll be easier for me to talk about. But yes, I have this I'm obsessed with Animal Crossing, so I have a cute little Animal Crossing book that I can go with like the months, so I love it. But let's just talk about the books that I have read this month. So I started out the month reading, I'm gonna talk because I read a lot of series, so I'll probably just put all the books on the screen. But I started the month reading the Wolf Hotel series by Nina West, or more known as K.A. Tucker. I read book 1, which is, I believe, Tempt Me, because on my Goodreads it says Wolf Bait, and that's not what it's called anymore. It's Tempt Me, and then book 2 is Break Me. Book 3 is Teach Me, and book 4 is Surrender to Me. And honestly, books 2 and 4 were my favorites. I think I rated book 1 4 stars, book 2 4.5 stars, book 3 3 stars, and book 4 3.5 stars. So I really enjoyed the series. This was part of a read-along that was hosted by some wonderful ladies from the booktube community. Of course, you all know them. I talk about them all the time, and that is Sam, Jessica, Cheyenne, Tori, and McKay. And they host fabulous read-alongs and readathons. So it's not going to be the last time that I mention them in this video, but pretty much this follows our heroine as she is raised in a extremely Christian lifestyle, and she's been with the same man, or her boyfriend, since she was in high school, and they are currently in college now, and she finds him cheating on her, so her heart is just broken. So she goes to this job fair, and there is a job opportunity in Alaska to work for the Wolf Hotel, and she is looking for any way to get out for the summer before she has to go back to school, deal with her heartbreak, and not deal with her issues at home, her overbearing family, the overbearing community. So she goes and gets this job at Wolf Hotel, and that's where she meets our hero, Henry. And he is definitely a grumpy hero. He is very CEO, very alpha, and their connection and their banter is very, like, fun because she's so sheltered and he's not. So to kind of see them, like, interact because they've grown up in very different lives, it was so freaking good. I loved the premise of the story. I love that it was set in Alaska, and it was pretty much like Gossip Girl on the freaking island where they are staying with the other employees, because everybody sleep with everybody, talking about somebody. And it was just such a good series. The books were very, very short. They were between 200 and 300 pages, and they were very, very quick. The story does have its bumps because it definitely could have been 2 books. I think that you could have made it into 2, or the author could have done it in 2 books, because there's just so much that happens that it's kind of pointless to have it into 4 separate books, especially since they are so short. But there's some really amazing characters in here that are just, they add the spice to the story. And if you've read the series, you know who I'm talking about. Ronan and Connor, I love them. And I also love Margot, I think that's her name. She's a model. She's also awesome in this story. So it was really good. It was really about our heroine coming in to being able to think for herself and also find love that was okay for her, even though it wasn't okay for her, some of her family or some of her community. She did what was best for her, and we got to see the hero turn from ice to waters. So it was really good. I had a really good time reading this series, and I definitely suggest that you pick it up because it's a quick series that you can go through. So after the long spiel, it was really good. And I continued on my backlist for Sarah Kate. So the next book that I picked up was Free Fall. And that is the second book from the Wild Men series. And this follows the son from book 1. And this is a menage romance. I gave this, I believe, 4 stars. I did 4 stars. And Nash is just a very unique character. He is very troubled and very angry. And so you see him really struggle with the thoughts in his head, his past, what he wants for his future, his relationship with his father. You see him struggle a lot. And then we also have another hero and another heroine in the story, and each of them are struggling with something, and to see their relationship and how they come together was really, really good. The heroine has a really hard past, especially with her mother, that I think that can really help relate with Nash, who has a hard relationship with his father, especially because he is with the girl that he thought he loved. So there's a lot of damage in this book, but it's so good to see them work through the damage together. And also it's a story of dealing with your sexuality, and it's also age gap. Like, it was a really, really good story. I was frustrated when I was first reading it. I just wanted to strangle Nash, but at the same time I really wanted him to have his happy ending, and I really liked how the author wrapped up the story and what happened to get him to where he needed to be. It was really, really good. Love Sarah Kate. She does no wrong in my eyes. The next book I read is also another Sarah Kate novel, but this was also written with Rachel Lee, and that is 4. And this is book 1, and I think it's the Black Heart series. And this book it was okay. It was a 3-star read. It wasn't my favorite one by Sarah Kate, and I really wanted it to be because I love a menage romance. I love the premise of what the story was supposed to be, and it just was a miss for me. I don't know if maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace for it, but this book annoyed the hell out of me. This follows our heroine after her father gets killed, and her father tells her a name of a person right before he dies, so she has to go and find that person. and he helps her as the mafia is coming after her. And this story has such a good premise, but I felt like a lot of it was rushed because it was so short. I felt like the heroine was just not who I was looking for the story. Like, I wanted somebody super, super strong, but she really just annoyed the hell out of me. And I hate that because I want to support my heroines so much. So this was a 3-star read for me, and I'm probably not going to pick up 5, which is book 2. I couldn't. So, but it's okay. But the last Sarah Kate novel that I picked up for the month, because I'm still working on my backlist for her, was actually a novella, and that was Handsome Devil. And McKay from Oh Hey It's McKay suggested this in one of the lives, talking about like really good novellas. So I wanted to pick this up because it was part of Sarah Kate's backlist, as well as a short novella, and I don't really read a lot of those, so I wanted to kind of just check out and see how a story would go in novella form. I really, really enjoyed this story. I gave it 3.5 stars, and that's really good for me not reading a lot of novellas. This follows our hero who is going to his daughter's wedding, and our heroine who is the daughter's best friend, and they are on this cross-country trip together because it is snowing and there's no flights out there. So this is a forced proximity romance, and it's age gap as well. I really love how they have their banter and how he really has sacrificed a lot for his daughter, and he doesn't believe that he's deserving of love, even though he feels something for our heroine, and he doesn't want to because he doesn't want to upset his daughter. And we have our heroine who just found out that her boyfriend was cheating on her and just doesn't feel worthy, and she's also very inexperienced in the bedroom. So, you know, when you're close together and there is sexual tension, things just go perfectly. I really enjoyed this novella. I would have loved to read a full-length novel as well because I really like the hero and heroine. I think that they would have had an amazing story, but I'm really happy with how this novella went. It was perfect. So if you have any novella recommendations that you think is really good, please let me know. I might do a vlog where I just read novellas. That would be so fun. But the next book that I read before the Twisted and Taboo readathon, I wanted to get in another novella, and that is Ronin by Kay Tucker or Nina West. And this was my 2-star read for the month because Ronin was one of my favorite characters in the Wolf Hotel series, and I didn't know that this was kind of like a prequel novella, and this had nothing to do with his time after he was at Wolf Hotel. And to me, this story was so pointless. Like, it did not build any type of character growth for me. It did not like make me love him any more or less. Like, it just felt very pointless because this is just a story of like how he met Connor and him having like a love fest, or you know, something with a girl that only lasts for like a week. It was just not for me. So if you love Ronin and you're like, okay, I need to read this, don't waste your time because nothing happens. Like, it's literally just him moving in with Connor and him working for like a couple days, and then he leaves, and that's the end of the book. Like, nothing happens. Like, there's no climax, there's nothing. It's not even worth the small smut scenes that are in there. So don't waste your time. But I gave it, the whole reason I didn't give it a 1-star and I gave it a 2-star is because it was Ronin and I loved him from Wolf Hotel. So, but yeah, that was my 2-star read for the month. Next, we're getting into the ones from the Twisted and Taboo readathon. I'm going to try and go very quickly over these because I have a whole video where I'm reading these and I talk about them. But the first book that I picked up was The Risk by St. Abbey. and I gave this one 5 stars. This was such a good book. I freaking loved it. I loved our heroine because she is obviously a serial killer, you know, but her reasons for why she is a serial killer are very validated, I feel like. And she meets our hero, who is Logan Bennett, and he is just my cinnamon roll hero that I absolutely love. And this was such a quick read, and it felt like I was watching an episode of Criminal Minds with a touch of a love story. It was so freaking good, so fast-paced. This was a great way for me to start off the Twisted and Taboo readathon. I do think that they also could have been put into one big book instead of 5 separate books, but it's okay. I still love the story. It was 5-star reads, or a 5-star read. Sorry, been a long day. The next book that I picked up was The Never King, another 5-star read. This was a awesome dark romance. This was a Peter Pan, Wendy dark romance, and it was everything I didn't know that I needed. So you meet our heroine who has just turned 18, and there has been this curse in her family since she was younger that all the women disappear on their 18th birthday or they go mad. So she gets kidnapped by none other than Peter Pan and gets taken off to Neverland, and Peter Pan needs something from the darling women, and this is their romance with some other people trickled along in there. It was such a good book. It's also another really short one. So good. I loved the world of Neverland. I loved the dark side of the characters. That's obviously not the Disney ones. I really, really enjoyed it. It was such a good book. Very dark, so if you do not like dark romance, this is definitely not for you, but it was so freaking good. Loved it. And the next book that I picked up in the Twisted and Taboo readathon was Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas, and I gave this book 4 stars. It was a really good book. Another cinnamon roll hero, age gap. This is son's girlfriend meets dad, falls in love with him. So good. This was definitely a slow burn romance. Pretty sure you didn't even get a kiss or anything until like 68% into the book, and that was frustrating because I do love slow burn, don't get me wrong, but when I was 68% into the book and they haven't even kissed, I'm dying. I'm parched out of water at this point. So it was a good book. I really loved our heroine in the story because she was such a strong female character, because she had come from hardship her entire life and she didn't bow down for a man. She worked her ass off to get where she was, and not even her hero could get in the way of that because she was determined to be successful on her own. And I really loved seeing that in the story. Of course, I love when my hero wants to protect his heroine, but it's really nice to see those very strong female characters. Really, really good. I do think it was a tad long, but it's okay. I still really like this story. This is my second book by Penelope Douglas that I read, and I definitely want to read some more of her books in the future. And the last book that I picked up for the Twisted and Taboo readathon was Lords of Pain by Angel Lawson and Samantha Lee, I think. It'll be on the screen right here for you guys. But this was a bully romance. Let me just tell you, I was not expecting like this in a bully romance. It was insane. I'm trying to think, what did I rate this? I rated this 3.5 stars. This was dark. And this follows our heroine as she is coming back into her stepbrother's life, who made her life a living hell because she needs help because she has a stalker, and she knows that if she applies for this job that he is hiring for, that she will be protected. And this all also follows along with his two best friends as well, and they're all kind of in love with her or whatever, and she is going to be their lady, and that's the job that she applies for, and it's part of like a sorority thing. And this book was dark. Please check your trigger warnings before you read this book. Consent is one that I wasn't expecting. It's very early on in the book. Not a lot of consent first scene. So please, if that's something that bothers you, don't read this book. It is definitely not for you. Very bully romance. But I will say the angst that they had in this book was good. That's what bumped it up to 3.5 stars. I loved the angst that they had for each other. And I did really love the premise. It is such a weird premise, but it is so good. And that's only book 1. It ends on a cliffhanger. So I will probably continue on in the story because I'm very intrigued. But that was the last book that I read for the Twist and Taboo readathon. And the next book that I decided to pick up was book 2 and 3 in the Risk series, and that was Sidetracked and Scarlet Angel. And these books were very short, novella length as well. Really good. I think I rated them 3.5 star, both of them. And it was good. It was just continuing on with our heroine story and her revenge that she is wanting to complete. There's some good cliffhangers in the next 2 novels. She has an unlikely ally that I was not expecting. And you really get to see of the story of what happened to her, but you just build that character depth so much with the flashbacks that it is in the books and her explaining that to her unlikely ally. And it is really, really good. I still have 2 more books to read in the series. I definitely am going to finish it. This is just like a really good serial killer romance series because you just feel for our heroine and you want her to get her revenge, but you're also so nervous for her getting caught because the love of her life is literally the FBI profiler that is after her. So this series gives me anxiety. Anything with like romantic suspense, it just gives me such anxiety because I'm like, I want everybody to be okay, but at the same time I can't put it down. I'm like, please give me more romantic suspense. But anyway, the next 2 books that I read was book 2 and 3 in the Never King series, and that is The Dark One and Their Vicious Darling, and that was by Nikki St. Croix. And there's one more book in the series, but it is not out yet. And I really enjoyed these as well. They both got 4 stars for me. It just continued on with the Neverland dark romance. And it had like a mix of fairies, Captain Hook, and magic, and steamy time. And it was so freaking good. I love the series so much, but I hate that book 3 ended on a cliffhanger because it's going to be probably another year before we get the last book. And I just want to know what happened, but it is very, very good. I don't want to give too much away because if you haven't read the first book, but let me just tell you, if you read the first book, you will read book 2 and 3 because you will just want to know the answers that they are so desperately looking for. And the last 3 books that I read this month are part of the next read along by the ladies from book 2, which is Jess, Tori, Sam, Cheyenne, and McKay. That's their next one that they're hosting. And I'm already 3 books in out of 6. And that is the Bonds That Tie series. And book 1 is Broken Bonds. This series has literally changed my life. I am not a fantasy romance reader whatsoever. There's very few and far in between that I'm like a fan of. This series broke me. I love this series. I'm addicted to it. And this series also gives me such anxiety at the same time because I am so worried about our heroine and what is going on in the story that I have sat down, and all these books are 400 and 500 pages, and I devoured them in 3 days. I'm obsessed with this series, and I'll read the other 3 next month in October. But oh my gosh, if you have not read the series, drop everything that you're doing and read it, okay? But it's about our heroine who has been on the run after her parents got killed because she is gifted, and everyone in her community is also gifted. So she has mates, fated mates, and she has 5 of them. So also, if you don't love menage romance, this probably isn't for you, but if you do, honey, this is the one you need to sign up for because it is good. But anyway, she has 5 mates, and they're called bonds. And then once they're like they've had intercourse, they're bonded. So you'll get that once you read the series. But our heroine's been on the run, and she gets captured, and one of her bonds is very high in society, and they all hate her because they don't know why that she has ran away from them, and she can't tell them why. And so they just continue to dislike her, and they have her on lockdown. They have a tracker in her that could kill her if she tries to run away again. And so you follow her journey with her bonds as she's going back to school. It's set in college, so she is in college, and it is dark. Like, this romance is addicting, dark, gives me anxiety, and I am drinking it all up because I don't know what else to do with myself. It is so good. 3 out of the 5 bonds, actually no, 4 out of the 5 bonds I'm obsessed with. One of them, I'll literally want to strangle him because of how he acts, but I know now that I've read book 2 and 3 that he has some damage, and that's fine. But this series is so good because she can't tell her bonds why she ran away from them and why they cannot bond with each other. And then there's this thing that's the resistance that is also after her and taking gifted off of the university that she is on. So it's another romantic suspense, and I devoured this entire series. It is the first 3 books in this series, so freaking good. Please go pick this series up. Please, it is so freaking good. But that is the 19 books that I have read this month. You just got to hear me fangirl for a full 27 minutes because I am obsessed with the books that I've read this month, and I drive my fiance crazy because I want to talk about all my books and he doesn't care, but I just need to let it out. So such a good reading month. I cannot wait for October, spooky season, and read some more amazing romance stories. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for watching me rant for almost 30 minutes. And I cannot wait to post my next video talking about some more amazing books. So tell me what you read this month, what your favorite was, if you've read any of these books before, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.